Hi, my name is Jim Crispino. I'm the Senior Director of Developer Evangelism here at Genesys. And today I'm going to be speaking about empathy as a service from a developer's perspective, advanced screen pop concepts. Before we get started, I'll cover a few logistics. First, there will be a 10-minute Q&A at the end of this tutorial. We'll try and reserve that amount of time for questions you might have. And then also this tutorial is being recorded. It will be uploaded to our Genesys Community YouTube channel, which you can access that video from our Developer Center at developer.genesys.cloud/video. All right, so empathy as a service. If you have attended any Genesys event, listened to any Genesys webinar, seen any Genesys blog materials or anything recently, you have probably seen Genesys speaking of empathy as a service. And as a developer, you might be scratching your head on, okay, where do I turn on empathy as a service within Genesys? And it isn't just something that you turn on, it's something that we developers would have to develop with the platform. Hence, empathy as a service. We are providing the platform within which you can create a system that employs empathy to your customer base. So let's define empathy as we get started. It's common to mix up empathy and sympathy. We kind of use them interchangeably. They're not exactly the same. They're similar, but they're not exactly the same. So sympathy involves understanding someone's situation from your own perspective. And that would be like, you have a friend who's lost a loved one and they're grieving and you send them a sympathy card. You would send them that card because you're feeling sad along with them because they are grieving. Empathy, on the other hand, is understanding why someone is having particular feelings. And in this situation, it's easy to think of putting yourself in the other person's shoes. That is empathy, being able to understand why they would be feeling a certain way because you can put yourself in their shoes and understand that. So empathy, we would want to apply empathy to the contact center in order to help our customers have a better experience, right? Everything that we build that a customer interacts with in the contact center, we as developers should put ourselves in their shoes and say, is this an IVR I would want to call into? Is this a chat service that I would want to use? Is the routing that's going on, is this routing giving me the options that if I were the customer, would I want those options or would I like something more? So as you're building something, not just building it to spec as someone is asking, I mean, obviously that's something you would want to do, but building it to that spec, but also employing empathy and thinking, maybe this isn't such a good idea, and going back to those colleagues and asking them if you could change it up a little bit because you think from an empathetic perspective that it might improve the experience of your users and what they might want to be doing when they interact with your contact center. So empathy is something that in normal day-to-day relationships with your spouse, your family, your friends, your coworkers, you are able to create empathy because you're able to have a relationship with them, a one-on-one relationship. You get to talk with them, understand what's going on in their lives. You might go to sit down and have coffee at a coffee shop and really have a deep conversation with somebody so that you really get to understand them and allow you to have empathy for them, right? You're able to put yourself in their shoes. So, we don't get that experience with our customers. Obviously, you can't go and have coffee with every one of your customers and understand, what their situation is in life, or maybe what their situation is and why they're calling your contact center. However, we can get to know them in a way. So to get to know the customer as a business, you would have to do that through a customer profile. So if we start with the customer profile, this would be everything that we can use at our disposal to make a decision as the customer interacts with us as to what their situation is. Why might they be calling? Is there something we can understand about them through the various touch points we have with them that we can improve the experience they have with our contact center? And so we might build that customer profile from CRM data, from ERP data, from e-commerce data that they're using on our shopping site. Maybe they're adding stuff and taking stuff out of their cart, trying to make a purchase decision. Navigating the website. Maybe they're looking for support. Maybe they're looking at product brochures on the website. Whatever they're doing on the website can give us some insight into that customer and what information were they looking at on the website, and therefore what might they be contacting our contact center about. And in the mobile app too, very many businesses these days have a mobile app along with a website, along with an e-commerce site. All those touch points are important. Even our own contact center. So understanding that a customer called in last week and they also chatted 2 times and maybe they sent us an email, kind of having that perspective of their past conversations with the contact center can be helpful. And then lastly, any events that they attend. Maybe you're having a live conference, maybe you're having a video conference, maybe they're attending some webinar that you're giving, like this one. Understanding those are important as well. So we take all that data from the ecosystem of touch points that we have in our enterprise that a customer might interact with, and we try to use all that data to form a customer profile to understand the customer as best you can as a business, right? So we'll take that, and now we'll talk about how we can use that customer profile data in Genesys. So with Genesys, we have the concept of an external contact. So not only do we have users in the enterprise that are the agents, the supervisors, the administrators of Genesys Cloud, but we have a separate directory that we call external contacts. And external contacts allow you to define the organizations and the contacts that you do business with. So some Genesys customers are B2B, some are B2C, some are both. So your directory of external entities that you interact with will be a collection of organizations and or contacts or both. And that directory allows you to see a streamlined view of all the contacts that you have with those organizations or those contacts. And it allows you to identify those folks as they call in or they email you or they visit you in a web chat or something like that. And along with the built-in fields that our contact records can have, we obviously have first name, last name, email address, phone numbers, et cetera. We have the kind of the table stakes of contact information you would have in a contact database. But we also have the ability to extend those fields that you can add data from third-party systems to flush out that contact record. Now, I'm not saying the contact record in Genesys should be the end-all be-all source of truth for everything. That probably doesn't make sense for most businesses. Your CRM is probably that source of truth, as it is a contact system. It is probably your contact database. And so most of that will live in the CRM, but having it in external contacts has some benefits with Genesys for lookup of contacts and identifying people who are calling. You can, if you're using Salesforce, our Salesforce integration can automatically sync between Salesforce and Genesys. So we can build those organizations and contact records automatically, or you can sync them manually using our API. But at least creating the basics of a contact record in Genesys is important for that identification of the phone call, the chat, the email, the message that you're receiving. find that contact, verify them as a contact, and even to see the past contacts that they have had with you. So as a contact calls in or emails or chats, we'll add that to the contact history. And so for a contact record, you'll be able to see those prior touch points, which on the previous screen I said was important for that contact profile to understand how they have interacted with your contact center in the past. So empathy points here are that people want to feel like you know them, especially if they're long-time paying customers. They want to feel like, I've been a customer for 20 years, I should, get a certain kind of service. They at least want you to be able to recognize them, kind of like if they were walking into your business, would you be able to recognize them? So having an external contact record that is able to identify them by their phone number, their email address, their mailing address, whatever way they're interacting with you, that you're able to recognize them and then look at their past interactions, understand how they've been contacting you in the past, how frequently are they really having a problem over the last couple of weeks that needs to be handled, and even past notes that other agents have taken for that contact to give you some context into them to be able to handle that interaction in an empathetic way. The second point, I mentioned Genesys probably is not going to be your source of truth. So you'll have all of these external systems available to you in that customer profile to make that holistic view of the customer. And you will need to retrieve that data. You'll need to reach out to some of those systems to get some data from them to try and understand the customer's situation. And we do that using data actions in Genesys. So data actions are used to gather data from those external systems. In a lot of cases, it's an HTTP request to a third-party system calling an API that returns JSON data that you can then have that data attached to the conversation in Genesys, to the interaction, to help you make routing decisions in Genesys Architect to get those agents to the right, or get those customers to the right agents. And even when the agent is interacting with them, you can use data actions within, say, an agent script to retrieve data and or update data in those third-party systems. So we have a couple of different types of data actions. We have web service data actions. Those truly are the HTTP requests to a remote system. We support all the HTTP verbs, get, put, post, delete. You can make those web service data actions. We can authenticate with them. We also have data actions to AWS Lambda. So if a one request call out of a web service data action just isn't going to cut it, and you need to do some broader processing, you can call an AWS Lambda, where you can actually get into code and make some other calls in the back end to pull data from databases and stuff. So Lambdas are just like a web service data action, but a little more powerful. We also have Genesys Cloud Data Actions. So you can call Genesys Cloud APIs. This would be where you might go get that contact history, see how often they've called in the last 2 weeks, see if they've called about a certain topic or chatted about a certain topic. So Genesys Cloud Data Actions, you can do numerous things with. And then we have productized data actions for specific platforms, like pre-built actions to call into Salesforce, Adobe, Google, Dynamics, Zendesk. So any of those can be used to reach out to those third-party systems to help you as they land in Architect, as they land on a call flow, an email flow, a chat flow, reach out to those systems, pull in that data quickly, do some analysis on that, and determine the best way to route that interaction. So now that we, from an empathy point of view though, data actions probably don't really come into the empathetic play, except to build that customer data profile to support the empathy that we're trying to create. So, your customers will never interact with data actions directly. There'll be a tool that you use. The other way that we can gather data from systems is, instead of reaching out reactively, you can use predictive engagement proactively. So predictive engagement is our AI-based system to analyze customers' behavior. Its primary purpose is for websites, monitoring your website to watch, if you will, what the customer is doing. So it tracks page visits, navigation events, button clicks, idle activity, adding things to and from your cart. It can kind of recognize those events and perform AI to determine how likely it is for a customer to do something on your website. So if you watched a customer come into your website, visit the shopping part of your page, and add something to your cart, you could theoretically, you use AI and determine that, hey, they look like they're going to buy something. So you can use that and sending those events into Genesys. So predictive engagement sends those into Genesys as part of the customer journey, and those show up in the contact history that the customer was on the website doing something. And then we also, coming up in a few months, this is in beta right now, we have custom sessions and events. So not only can a web page start a session in Genesys and send events and let us know what the customer's doing, but third-party systems can create custom sessions and send us custom events. So where that's useful is for like service visits. Let's say you're a cable company providing service and you needed to do a truck roll to a customer's residence to troubleshoot what's going on with their cable. So the system that you use for scheduling those visits might call predictive engagement on Genesys and send a custom event. It might start a service session. It might send us an event that a service visit was scheduled. We might send another event that says it's on its way. Might send another one that the service is complete and maybe the reason, what the resolution of that was. And then another event that says a survey was sent and maybe the results of that survey. So that information is important to your agents, because if that customer calls in the next day about something, it may be because of that service visit and maybe something wasn't resolved, and they can go back and look and see what was done on that service visit right from within Genesys in the predictive engagement session view. Orders are another one. So maybe somebody places an order. Your ordering system can create an order session and send an event that says an order was placed, and the data for that order can contain the items that were ordered, the price, kind of all of that information, the date the order was being fulfilled, the date it was shipped, the date it's due to arrive, the date it was delivered. All of those events can be tracked. So again, your agents can have a view into maybe if the customer is calling during the time an order was placed, maybe they're calling about that order, and the agent can see in the session view exactly where that order is in the fulfillment process. So predictive engagement can be a powerful way for the third-party systems to send events into Genesys to build a more holistic view of the external touch points a customer has, not just the contact center touch points. So again, empathy points with this would be to identify current and past customer activity in external systems to Genesys, to recognize frustration points on a website. If a customer's constantly coming back to the same page a couple of days in a row or a couple of hours apart, your agents can recognize that, so that when they call in, you maybe can tell that they've been on the website multiple times at the same page. So maybe I should just automatically route them to tech support, or make that the first offering. The other one would be just monitor application usage. So maybe your mobile app is sending sessions and events to predictive engagement to understand what they're doing on the mobile app, or tracking orders, like I said. So there's any number of touch points that can be fed into Genesys to help provide empathy, to kind of give the agent a view into the interactions that customer's been having recently with your enterprise. Next, we'll talk about Architect. So Architect is our inbound flow IVR routing designer, if you will. It's a drag and drop web-based tool that allows you to create those flows for calls, emails, chats, messages, voicemail, surveys, bots, really any kind of flow, basically any kind of flow chart to take that call from ingress into Genesys and do something with it, look up data in third-party systems, make a determination where that interaction should go, and send that to the appropriately skilled agent or group of agents. So as I said, we have any number of inbound flow types. We have outbound call flows as well. While they're in queue, you can have flows that execute while they're sitting there on hold. You can have flows that execute, maybe even change up the hold music, curate the hold music, play different hold music each time they come in, just so they don't have to listen to the same monotonous music. Bot flows, so if you want to have a bot interact with the customer at any point for a call, a chat, a message, you can have a bot do that. And then we've got some other flows as well that are useful. So Architect is going to be really the first touch point for a customer, and this is your front door. So from an empathy point of view, think of this as a brick and mortar business, right? And people are walking into that brick and mortar business. You want them to like where they're walking into, right? You have a nice reception area. It's decorated nicely. You've got somebody sitting there at the front desk helping guide them, giving them directions of where to go in the building. So Architect is your front door of your contact center. It should be, granted it can't be visual, but it should be a pleasant experience. The voice that they hear on a call, look at using a nice voice, something you would like to listen to, right? If you had to call your own business, would you like listening to the voice that you use? Use those touch points, those data actions to reach out to those third-party systems to try and predict, why are they calling? Maybe if you're an energy company and a storm just went through and knocked out power, well, you're going to get a large volume of calls from people because their power is out. So you can recognize that. You can reach out to that system that's monitoring the power, recognize that outage, and change the experience in your IVR and on your chat and message flows to recognize that an outage is occurring, and that's probably why people are calling. Or maybe you're having a big sale that day, or maybe there's a recall on a product, whatever. Use those data actions to reach out to try and make some prediction on why they're calling, and then also use that data on efficient routing. Also, navigation of the IVR or the bot that you're building is important too. You don't want to send people into an endless call tree. You don't want to make it hard to try and get to a human. I understand we all want people to self-service. We want to save the really important calls that agents deal with to be really important. And we want to do self-service as much as possible. But self-service should be an optional thing, right? Sometimes you just need to speak with a human. So it shouldn't be onerous to get to a human. Make self-service efficient and useful and something you'd like to use. But if it's just something that can't be done, make it fairly easy, fairly efficient to get to navigate that flow and get to an agent. So next we'll talk about bots. Bots are a great tool. We all know what bots are. I'm sure we have all interacted with them in our daily lives. So chatbots and voice bots are a tool that you can use to handle self-service activities in your voice and messaging flows. So Genesys provides several built-in bots. We have our own called Genesys Dialogue Engine Bot Flows. So right from within Architect, you can use our flow designer that you're already used to create a bot flow, to ask for intents, to fill slots, to provide knowledge, provide a knowledge base responses back. So we have our own tooling. You can use that, but we understand Arch may or may not be the useful for your needs. So we also have productized integrations to AWS Lex version 1 and 2. We support Google Dialogflow, CX, and ES bots. We have nuanced mixed bots available, and those three are productized. We have those out of the box. They might need to be enabled for your org to use them, but they are there to be turned on and then used in Architect. And then we also have third-party bot connector tooling that can be installed through integrations to enable you to use almost any NLU engine that you want, say IBM Watson or some other third-party NLU service that has an API that you want to call. We can integrate with that with the bot connector. So using bots can be a great way to provide that self-service, because bots don't have to be so directed, right? Bots know the slots they have to fill, and they will fill them. They will get the data necessary for an intent, for a purpose, say a password reset, or scheduling an appointment or placing an order. A bot is really good. A bot should also be able to recognize when there's frustration and to escalate to an agent appropriately. So from an empathy point of view, you would want to use bots, but again, think how you would want to interact with a bot in your business, so that, is this something your customers would want to use also? Bots are not going to replace humans, but they provide a great means of self-service. Again, because they can understand intents and fill slots, and they can reach into your knowledge base. They can take a question, reach into your knowledge base, whether that's within Genesys or whether that's a third-party knowledge management system, and get the answer to that question and present it back and ask, is this what you were looking for, right? Try and proactively answer those questions with knowledge. And if you're not getting anywhere with the knowledge, then escalate to an agent when necessary. So bots are useful, but always make sure that a bot can escalate to an agent if there's frustration, if a slot's just not getting filled, or you can't determine the intent. Don't frustrate your customers. You wouldn't want to be frustrated, so don't frustrate your customers, and send them to an agent. Let an agent deal with that conversation. So, all right, so we've come in the front door. Our customers have come into the front door. They've heard a pleasant voice, or they're interacting with a bot that's really trying to help them out. But at some point, those interactions, agents are going to be involved. So those interactions are going to come into the system. They're going to get routed. They're going to land in an agent. Your agents, it's common to say you get 10 seconds to make a first impression, right? That's about how much time your agents have to make a good impression on the call that they're handling also. So their ability to take a cold call just right out of the blue, and really put empathy into that call is important. To understand who the caller is, why they're calling, and having all that information right there is really important. So agent scripts are one of the primary kind of easiest ways in Genesys Cloud to put that information front and center to the agent. So with an agent script, you can identify the caller, put that caller's information right there in the middle of the screen in an agent script, and so that they know who's calling, where they're calling from, or if they're chatting or if they're emailing in, identifying them. Give them talking points. I wouldn't say give them the exact script that they should be reading from so that it's a very monotone and thank you for calling today kind of script, right? Give them talking points. Say, salutation, or greeting, highlights. Let them speak in their own words. That sounds more conversational. It sounds more empathetic if they're not reading from a canned script. But at least they're following how they should handle that conversation. And then data collection. Scripts are great for data collection. So as they're talking with the customer, and maybe the agent had to schedule that appointment, you're going to want fields on there to pick the date, to pick the time, to pick the reason that they're scheduling an appointment, and whatever. So collecting data in the scripts is another important aspect of those. And scripts are not necessarily a one-page thing. They can be, but you can have some very elaborate scripts with some branching functionality and buttons and things. And it can almost be like a little mini website, multiple pages with buttons that navigate the script to taking the agent to the appropriate place in the script where they need to be for what the customer is requesting. So from an empathy point of view, scripts get your agents engaged with the customer right away. You give them the most relevant information right there in the front because they've got that 10 seconds to hook the customer and make a good impression and actually connect with that customer and let them know that they're really interested in helping them, right? Resolve whatever it is. So make that first pop, make it important, but then coach them through that conversation with the script and maybe multi-page scripts and navigation. As the conversation goes on, they can navigate through that script and get to where they need to be. And walk them through the most common processes to assure that all the data is collected. Because if I'm scheduling an appointment and the script isn't walking the agent through how to do things, maybe they forgot to mark down why I wanted an appointment. Maybe they put in they got the date and the time, but they forgot to collect the reason. And my appointment didn't really get scheduled when I hung up. I don't want to have to call back in, right? That's going to be a frustration point. From an empathy point of view, you want to get everything necessary to get that conversation ended in one turn to not provide frustration to the customer. So collect all the information for all the processes that your agent might have to deal with right from within the agent script. All right, and now we're on interaction widgets. So we're almost done here. Interaction widgets they go along with agent scripts. So an agent script can give the agent context and help the agent process the interaction. Interaction widgets hang off on the right-hand side of our Genesys Cloud UI to provide deeper integration to those third-party systems for things that maybe can't be integrated into the agent script. So interaction widgets are external web applications that are embedded in the Genesys UI. They are contextually aware of the current interaction. So, if an agent is handling multiple chats at a time, a widget is aware of exactly which chat it is that widget is tied to, so that it's working specifically with that conversation. And what having interaction widgets embedded in the UI just alleviates a lot of context switching, for one, so agents don't have to switch different applications. They don't have to switch browser tabs. They don't have to switch windows on their desktop. It's all right there within Genesys Cloud, so they can stay in the UI and reach out to those third-party systems through a pane of glass, if you will, an embedded web app that is doing stuff on those external systems. So you might have a CRM data view. I'm not suggesting you embed your whole CRM. You could, but you probably don't want to. You probably need more real estate in your CRM than what an interaction widget might provide. But a small view of the CRM might not be a bad thing, right? a small view for a specific task that an agent's able to do right there within Genesys Cloud can be useful. Agent Assist is another one which is very popular these days. So as an agent is chatting or they're on a call, an Agent Assist widget in real time can be monitoring that conversation. It can be monitoring the call or the chat, understanding what the customer is asking and doing knowledge lookups on the fly, right? So it sees a chat message come across from the customer, it looks that up in the knowledge base and supplies a list of knowledge articles that the Agent Assist module thinks are relevant to the topic. And so that those are right at the agent's fingertips so that they can just click and insert that right into the chat as a response. So Agent Assist is really useful. Just general knowledge, having access to a web-based app to be able to do knowledge lookup on their own, where they can type in a search term and find knowledge is important. So that can also, again, give them answers to feed back to the customer to answer their questions. And then lastly, widgets are great for media enhancements. So if you, if you're on a call or a chat, but you need additional media resources to help you out. So maybe you need co-browse, maybe you need screen share, maybe you need an AR session. So in a service industry where you're troubleshooting a device or an appliance or something like that, you could use an augmented reality session where you send a link, you have a widget that'll send a link to the customer's phone, to their mobile device. That customer can click on that link and bring up the augmented reality service and use their camera to look around. Maybe they're having a problem with their dishwasher or their refrigerator or something, and they can use their mobile device to let the agent see and annotate things on the screen and really provide a remote troubleshooting session just using devices that the customer already has to help that first call resolution and maybe not have to have a truck roll. Maybe you don't have to have some service technician go out because you can troubleshoot everything right there from within the Genesys UI within the interaction widget. So interaction widgets are a great tool to help aid your agents. And from an empathy point of view, your customers are going to expect the agents, it may not be realistic, but it's what they're going to do. They're going to expect your agents to be able to have all of this information at their fingertips and have it quickly, right? Not have to sit and wait for the agent to have to change screens and reinitialize the system and refresh a pane and get logged in and look stuff up. They want all that information right there. They want your agents to have the answer. So providing access to third-party systems and to knowledge and to use AI to assist the agent in effectively talking to the customer and giving knowledge and talking points and maybe even special offers for things that you could upsell. And having those tools, those media channel tools available, just so that everything the agent can need is right there at their fingertips. All of that put together, like I said, we're at the end here. So all of those points, as a platform, Genesys offers our platform as a service, and you can use that to provide empathy as a service on top of our platform. Again, there's no easy button. You're not going to go in and toggle on the empathy setting in Genesys Cloud, and it's just going to roll out empathy and your contact center is state of the art. I wish that were the case, but as a platform, Genesys has the tools for you to put yourself in your customer's perspective, to build a service that your customers are really going to like and find beneficial, that they're going to be rewarded customers when they're done interacting with you. So that's my talk for today. I hope you learned everything. Each one of those topics could be a session in itself. Several of them we have had DevCast webinars on in the past. So I'd encourage you to go out to our developer center, developer.genesys.cloud, go to the video section and visit our past DevCast webinars. And many of those we've covered architect, we've covered bots, we've covered data actions, we've covered predictive engagement. We've got some great content also on the developer center itself. A lot of this stuff is covered, and in the resource center at help.mypurecloud.com. So almost everything I talked about today, you can find on one of those two sites. And then lastly, if you visit our developer center, and I would encourage you to do so at developer.genesys.cloud, we have our new developer center. It is out there. It's revamped. If you're an old-time user, be prepared. It's quite a bit different. Things are in different places now. But take a look at it, look around, see what you think. If you've got some feedback, go to our forum. There's a link on the main landing page of our developer center to get you to the forum, and you can give us feedback on the developer center. It's not too late to make some suggestions. We, as a team, want to be empathetic to you, our customers, and we want to build the best developer center that we can for you. So please visit that and let us know what you think. And at that, I will let you all go, and we'll see you next month on the next DevCast. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.